Good morning. Thank you for being here. This is Center for Spiritual Living, Visalia. We're getting ready to go into our meditation, which we'll do for the next 15 minutes. So relax, enjoy the musical renditions from our dear pianist Kevin here, and we will see you in 15 minutes. Today's affirmation. Well, thank you so much for that, Kevin. Welcome again, everybody. Thank you for joining us. That ends our meditation for today. For the next 15 minutes, we'll be doing our meet and greet where our congregation will come in and join us in the sanctuary. Please come back and be with us at 10:30. Thank you. She's just playing. Oh, she found something to play. She do it. Okay, I'll leave her alone. How are you today? How are you, honey? Oh, no. And you're here. I see in the meeting this morning. Praise God. Yeah, 2 weeks away from home, you know. Excuse me, everyone. Service is about to begin. If you'd please come in and take your seats, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. No, I don't want to say it on camera. I want to say it before we get on camera. They can come in and sit down. Why would I tell them to sit down on camera? Good morning, everyone. Good to see you all. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Center for Spiritual Living here in Visalia. I see a couple of new faces. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to talk to you after service. If everyone else is ready, we're going to begin our program. We have a delightful song this morning from our band.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true, you're a pal and a confidant. I'm not ashamed to say, I hope it always will stay this way. My hat is off, won't you stand up and take a bow? And if you threw a party and invited everyone you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be for me, and the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend.
I want to thank you.
Thank you for being a friend.
I want to thank you.
Thank you for being a friend.
I want to thank you.
Now, if it's a car you lack, I'd surely buy you a Cadillac. Whatever you need, any time of the day or night. Ooh, I'm not ashamed to say, I hope it always will stay this way. My hat is off, won't you stand up and take a bow? And when we both get older, with walking canes and hair of gray, have no fear, even though it's hard to hear. And we'll stand real close and say, thank you for being a friend.
I want to thank you.
Thank you for being a friend.
I want to thank you.
Thank you for being a friend.
I want to thank you.
Thank you for being a friend.
I want to thank you.
Now people, let me tell you about a friend.
I want to thank you.
Oh, thank you for being a friend.
I want to thank you.
Thank you for being a friend.
I want to thank you.
Thank you for being a friend.
I want to thank you.
And when we die and float away into the night, the Milky Way, you'll hear me call as we ascend. I'll take you there. Then once again, thank you for being a Thank you for being a friend.
I want to thank you.
Thank you for being a friend.
I want to thank you.
Thank you for being a friend.
I want to thank you.
Thank you for being a friend.
I want to thank you.
Ooh, thank you for being a friend.
I want to thank you.
Thank you for being a friend.
I want to thank you.
Now, people, let me tell you about her.
I
Let me
wanna
tell you
thank
about her.
you.
Say, let me tell you about
thank you for that beautiful song. Thank you. That's a center band with Hope and her daughter. And I'm sorry, I don't know everyone's names, but we appreciate you all. My bad. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us here today at Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Gwen Valentine, and I am on the Board of Trustees here. This morning, we're going to start with our announcements from Donna, so I'm going to let her take over.
So we have a beautiful day for our Blessing of the Cranes, which is today. And I want to give you some background on it because it's been almost 3 years. When we first started this program, we started thinking, okay, Peace Day, International Peace Day is in September, and we were thinking, how can we honor that day? Besides have this little noontime 5-second, I don't know, and nobody comes. So we decided, okay, let's do origami cranes, because 1,000 origami cranes has become to symbolize peace. So Ann Helgerman, our wonderful origami lady, she taught some of us stayed after church and tried to learn how to make origami cranes. Yes, Sue says no, I was terrible. But Sharon Bannister got really good at it. And so Ann and Sharon ended up making most of these origami cranes that you can see right behind. I mean, here's some of them right behind me. There's a bunch in the window. There's on the stairway. They're everywhere here. And they're wonderful. And people will comment, oh, they'll walk by and they'll see them in the window and they'll say, I wonder what that's all about. So that was our first year of Peace Day. And then a few months later, we were having our art show here. And a guest came in from Fresno, and he couldn't find the place. And he said, you know, you need more visibility outside. And so we started talking, and the idea of yarn bombing came up. I don't know, has anybody ever heard of yarn bombing? Me either. I looked it up. Yarn bombing is a real popular thing. You take trees and you put yarn around them, and sometimes it's real simple, and sometimes it's very elaborate, and it's not just trees, it's all kinds of outdoor things. But as I looked it up, the environmentalists didn't think that was a really good idea to wrap trees in yarn. And yesterday was Earth Day, so okay, we're trying to be environmentally. So anyway, there's a long discussion with a bunch of people, and we decided let's make year 2 of our international cranes. Instead of wrapping the trees, we'll get all these crane forms, wrap them in yarn, and hang them in the trees. Wonderful idea. The Arts Consortium gave us a grant because this was during COVID, and they were promoting outdoor events to be safe. So last September, we had a wonderful, some of you were there, we had a wonderful outdoor thing. We wrapped cranes, we hung some of them in the trees, looked great, and that was Saturday. And on Sunday, I happened to be driving by, and I didn't see any cranes in the tree. I went around the block, came back, almost all the cranes were gone. The other thing is we had some of the kids had chalked cranes on the sidewalk. They were gone too. The city had come by and power washed the sidewalks. So the cranes were pretty much gone. So we kept going, and on First Fridays, we had kids wrapping cranes, and we had Maria wrapped 100 of them. She took them home and put bows on them. I took them home for Christmas and had my family wrapping cranes. So we finally finished, around Christmas time, we finally finished all 66 cranes, even though some of them had been gone. Oh, I forgot. In between, we had tried hanging some more, and they stayed up for a while, and then the wind or something blew them down, and I found them on the ground. So we're not doing well with this crane, and we're trying to promote peace. So finally today, we are going to hang, we've hung most of them. We've got 7 more we're going to hang today, and you can all help. Stan has created this wonderful system to hang them. Very clever, very clever. And he's gonna help us do that. And this last week, we now have cranes on our mat outside the door. You probably all came in the back door, so you didn't see them. But that was the idea, to have cranes on our mat. Since we can't keep them on the sidewalk, that doesn't belong to us. I figured the mat belongs to us. So Samantha Kinshu, daughter of Donna and Steve, came in. I thought it was going to be easy. Just paint them. We have this wonderful all she had to do was paint in this, no problem. Well, the rug is dark, it's rigid, it wasn't easy. So Stan, show the first slide here. So that's what our trees look like now. They're hard to find. We realize the blue ones don't show up at all, but that's some of them. And then show the next slide is Samantha painting the rug. So what she discovered was she needed to put a white background down first, and then you'll see when we go out there, you'll see how pretty and colorful and wonderful it is. Donna even came and helped her yesterday. So today, we are going to, right after service, it's going to be very short and sweet. We're going to go out. We're going to hang the last 7 cranes in the trees. Like I say, anybody who wants to help, it's a little glitch, but it's doable. We're going to have snacks afterwards, and Janice is going to do a wonderful blessing of the cranes. It'll be the end, finally, of this year's or last year's International Peace Day. And even though it hasn't been a peaceful process necessarily, I think it works for peace. So please, everybody stay. We'll have snacks outside afterwards. It'll just take a few minutes, and it's, I don't know, finally a wonderful end to this project. Okay, so other things going on. Our next big fundraiser is Donna in the back there, and Bruce. They're going to do this incredible concert. So they've been rehearsing every Friday, and they're great. And all these, she called it, Nana wanted to call it Nostalgia and Joy, because it's sort of nostalgia songs. So we thought, and it's a day before Mother's Day. So this is a chance to bring your favorite mother, several mothers. We want 100 people in here. So it's up to all of us to sell tickets. Yes? Very good. You're right. Thank you. Nothing will happen. Thank you, Donna. My mother always said you got to make one mistake on every slide, every poster you make, so people will read it. That wasn't why. That's not the reason, but I'll give that excuse. So yes, the flyer does have the correct date on it, and the flyers all over. Please take a bunch of flyers, hand them out to everybody you know. We'll sell tickets today. They're only $20. Donna and Bruce are donating all this time to do it. It's going to be all profit for us, and we need fundraisers. So this is going to be a great fundraiser. Florence, Donna, and Donna are going to the trio are going to sing a few songs, and Florence and Stan, our dancers, are going to dance. Wonderful ballroom dancing. And then you're invited to sing along, to dance along. This is going to be just a fun, informal, great time. But one last thing, the trio needs 3 cowboy hats. Does anybody have a cowboy hat? Nobody has a cowboy hat? Yes? You have one? I need 3 total. You have one? You have one? Okay. You or a mini pearl hat, she says, would do. Anyway, if you've got cowboy hats, will you bring them next week? And we'll just borrow them, and then we'll give them back to you. But a little costume here going on. So take flyers, buy tickets. We want to fill the hall for this. And I'll quickly do the other things. So we have a guest today, Reverend Janice is going to tell us about. We have a guest minister, Reverend Susan. Next is, hopefully you all got the email about this wonderful 20-minute, is that what she said? It's around a 20-minute only known video of Dr. Holmes talking on TV. It's very 50s, it's black and white, and you know when it's from, and I think it'll be very inspirational. So we're going to do it on Zoom. Next Saturday, 2 o'clock, just Zoom in. The link is on our website. And it'll be like the good old days of COVID when we were all on Zoom. We'll be able to talk afterwards, talk to Reverend Nan, and just discuss it a little bit afterwards. So 2 o'clock Saturday. And one more. Remember, next week is our congregational meeting. So potluck, bring potluck, and we're going to be talking about all the kind of wonderful things and things we need to be doing, and we'll be electing board members. and Donna and Bruce will give us just a sample of what's going to come up on their concert. So lots going on. Get involved, and I'll turn it over to Janice.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you. And I can imagine all of you out there in cyberspace, knowing that you are seeing us here. I just would like to say one thing about the cranes. I think there's another a blessing to the cranes having been stolen out of the trees, because perhaps whoever took those cranes, maybe they tried to find out what they meant. So perhaps that love and peace was spread, even though it wasn't exactly the way we had in mind. But that is okay. So today I'm going to start with our inclusivity quote. And this is a quote that I picked out. And I think that it's something that all of us can really relate to. Nothing I accept about myself can be used against me to diminish me. So think about that. If we accept ourselves, if people don't accept part of us, but we do, they do not diminish us at all. We are still the same wonderful human beings that we were. And I also get to give the weekly affirmation. And this again, we're talking about vulnerability. And I'm going to say it first, and then I would like you to say it with me. I allow myself to see and be seen. So let's say that together. I allow myself to see and be seen. And when I do that, I am tapping into the divinity in me and the divinity in everyone else that I see. And with that, I would like to do a spiritual mind treatment, a positive prayer. Oh, as I think about that I allow myself to see others as they are, their perfection, and I allow them to see me also. What a blessing that can be for all who are involved in that process. And I know that it's a blessing for me to be seen and for others to be seen, because we are, each and every one of us, a part of spirit, a part of spirit's perfection. That there is nothing that we can ever do or anyone else can do. There's nothing I can do or anyone else can do that ever tarnishes that purity that is within each of us. It's like a light, it's like a candle light that goes on forever and cannot be blown out. And I claim for each of us today that this service reminds us of the perfection in each of us, in ourselves, and in everyone that we meet, knowing that each person is Spirit's beloved, that each person is unique and has a right to be right where they are. Knowing that this is so, I am so, so grateful to know that in doing this, we are truly creating a world that works for everyone. I release my word knowing that it has already been made manifest, and we say together, and so it is. And now we're going to have we're going to have congregational music. And I want to say, I'm going to step down, but I want to say that you will notice that Reverend Susan Overland, who's going to be our speaker is obviously a woman of tremendous taste because her hair is the same color as mine. So with that, take it away.
We invite you to sing with us. This is a really great song, a beautiful song. So the lyrics are here on the screen, and feel free to join in with us this morning. It does make me cry, so please help me. Here we go. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Oh. Imagine there's no country. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of men. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us. Great.
I'm so grateful to be with you all this morning. Thank you so much. Thank you, CSL Visalia. I want to thank Reverend Nan for inviting me to be with you today. Our musicians, thank you. What a beautiful song to start the morning with. John Lennon's Imagine is just, it's remarkable. It's kind of like our global vision, I think. Imagine what we could do together. So I was asked to tell you a little bit about me. I am, of course, I'm an ordained minister with the Centers for Spiritual Living. I was ordained in 2013. I graduated our School of Leadership, Holmes Institute, in 2011. And since 2008, I served in several capacities as a staff member at the Center for Spiritual Living in San Jose. I started out actually handling operations, and then when I graduated school, I became an assistant minister. working with Dr. David Bruner. And then I became an associate minister there. And in December, just this past December 2022, I actually tendered my resignation because it was time. Spirit, you know, that poke in the ribs. I was nudged again to take my ministry in a different direction. I really wanted to serve more I wanted to do a little less administering and a little more ministry. So I am currently enrolled in the Chaplaincy Institute, which is located in Berkeley. And as of next May, assuming I can get all this work and reading and homework done, next May I will have a double ordination and I will be an ordained interfaith chaplain as well as a minister with the Centers for Spiritual Living. So that is the path that I'm on. And I'd love to dive in today. And now that you know a little bit about me, I'm also supposed to let you know that I'm the Regional Support Coordinator for Region 3. That means that I support our different centers in the region, which goes as far north as Napa, and then down to Santa Barbara. And then we have Visalia, of course, your community, and the East Bay, the Centers for Spiritual Living that are in the East Bay. I believe there's 4 in Oakland. So, and then in February, I was elected to the Ministers' Council. So I'm also serving the denomination, and I get to teach for Holmes Institute as well for 3 different campuses. So I'm really excited. Someone said, "Oh, you retired in December." But no, I didn't. I have no idea what that would even mean. So that's a little bit about me. And now I'd like to really share with you, as you probably know, we have been for the month of April diving into the topic of vulnerability. Last week, Reverend Nan asked us to consider how willing we are to be open to vulnerability, because the topic last week was letting go and letting in. And she also talked about where we might have to look at resistance, where we might be resistance to vulnerability. So this Sunday, today, we're going to talk about seeing and being seen. We'll stay with our April theme of vulnerability. And that I'm fascinated by today's topic because authenticity, connection, belonging, they're really important. Many of you may have experienced what I did coming out of the pandemic. There were reunions, there was time with loved ones that we hadn't been able to see for a while. We were coming back to our centers and gatherings, and we were so hungry for that connection, that togetherness. And that connection is only possible when we bring our whole self to life. I mean, we had a year of wearing masks and isolating and social distancing and sheltering in grace, as I tried to do. That's what I call it, shelter in grace. And we even coined a new word. Does anybody remember that it's now in the dictionary, the word smize, because we all learned how to smile with our eyes. So that it was coming out of that, it was amazing. But again, it was also that realization that connection really means bringing our whole self to life. So we can create safe and affirming spaces for others to do the same, but that means we set the tone. We set the tone and we lead by example. Others are more likely to be vulnerable if I'm vulnerable with them. And seeing and being seen can be a really great challenge, but also a great desire. So how do we do both? How do we see and be seen and be vulnerable when we've also got maybe that little bit of anxiety about it? And if you guessed, again, willingness to be vulnerable, then you win a prize of marching through life that way, because we can open the door, right? So we have an annual theme in the denomination. Our annual theme is living out loud, a life lived out loud. And that can happen when we allow that vulnerability. So today, let's start with seeing ourselves this morning. When we look at ourselves in the mirror, what we see depends on the quality of the mirror. Has anybody ever gone to a fun house? I remember when I was a kid, there were carnivals and such, and we would go to a fun house, and they had those really wacky mirrors where you look like really small or like really wide. really wide, not assuming that the camera's adding 10 pounds, but what the mirror shows us is that reflection, but that reflection depends on the mirror and the quality of the mirror. But similarly, we have a mental image of ourselves, and that helps determine how we react to daily life, the highs and the lows. So the quality of our thinking is the same as the quality of the mirror. What we see in ourselves is dependent upon our thinking. And if we think of ourselves as worthwhile, if we think of ourselves as valued, that quality comes across to other people. We move through the world that way. And it's not about being puffed up, but it's about being so certain in who we are. And then we can be molded by internal and external forces. That can happen. Our self-image makes a huge difference in how we feel and how we act. Our great teacher, our founder, Ernest Holmes, wrote, "We see in each other the reflection or the manifestation of the everlasting life, and each is an individualized embodiment of it. Remember, the kingdom of heaven is already in us. We are it. It is only as we are in harmony with it that we awake to it." Ernest Holmes wrote that in his book, Ideas for Living. And that is such a powerful reminder. The kingdom of heaven is already in us. So why is it then that self-esteem can be so elusive at times, that self-worth that we deserve, that we so need? And I think sometimes it's because we forget. We forget who and whose we are. I was on Facebook the other day and I saw a meme that said, whenever you're having a rough day, just straighten your crown and remember who you are. And I think that's so important, right? It's really powerful. And there's a lot of reasons that we forget who we are. There's many reasons why seeing ourselves is not just a simple statement or a simple concept. We have baggage. We have past history. Some of us have triggers, myself included. And it was easy sometimes to play small. I did not grow up in what might be called a safe household. And I'm the youngest of 5. And I also had a sister who started running away from home when she was 13. So imagine being this young 8-year-old on her way to school and seeing my sister's face plastered in all the store windows. And I tend to move around, somewhat like this. It was embarrassing in school because people would ask, have they found your sister yet? Is your sister okay? So playing small at times was easier. It was easy to be invisible in a household that wasn't always safe. And I actually think, though, so there's an upside, right? Isn't there that yin and yang, that light and dark? I actually think I found my theater world, because I do have a theater background. And I think I found that at a very early age because I could be front and center. I found a way to be front and center, but it was safe because I could hide behind a character. That's what was really different. And you'll find, if you ever look it up, there have been studies that show that most actors and most theater people, many of them are actually introverts. And I don't consider myself an introvert, but I'm deeply grateful that I found the stage and that I found a voice. The other thing I believe that's really helped me in that aspect of being seen. Several years ago, I was in a seminar, and one of the things that we had to undertake in order to complete the seminar, because it was certificated, we had to do a 360-degree feedback exercise. I don't know if any of you have heard of that or tried that, but we were tasked with writing to people, like picking a group of people that we would send an email to. And in that email, we had to ask them 7 questions. What does everyone know about me? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And this was, of course, in their opinion, right? What would you say everyone could count on me for? What would you say everyone could never count on me for? So, for example, camping. That's not my thing. I require a hotel room and sheets. We also had to ask, is there anything that you see or that you know about that I need to clean up for you or for anyone else? Something that I need to clear up. And the seventh question is, what would everyone say about me if I weren't here? What do they say about me when I'm not in the room? All right, let's everybody take a deep breath, right? Imagine that. It proved to be extremely powerful, though, because those responses, and the ones that I was most worried about were beautiful. People wrote beautiful things. Oh, and the other thing about that exercise, I wasn't supposed to just write to my besties, right? I wasn't supposed to just write to my best friends. I was tasked with writing to family members, writing to coworkers, people that I worked on teams with, perhaps, and also people that perhaps I didn't always get along with. Who are those folks that maybe we butted heads from time to time? So it was a risk. It was a huge leap of faith, and it really helped me, though, in the end, to find out that I mattered, that I was making a difference in the lives of my community and my family. I think my favorite response came from our board treasurer at the time, and he wrote back and he said, "I really hate doing email. Can we meet for coffee?" And I met him for coffee, and he said, "I wanted to meet with you because I want to tell you one thing in particular. You have earned your seat at the table. Stop hanging back. Stop holding back." He said, "I'm in meetings with you, and I know that you know. I know there are things you know, and for some reason, you're not sharing. And I really hope that you find your voice and understand that you've earned your seat at that table. Speak up. We need you." And I went home and I cried because I was so touched and I was so moved and so inspired. I recently heard Michelle Obama talking about her new book, The Light We Carry. And she said, "We only hurt ourselves when we hide our realness away." And I thought that was so powerful. And imagine hearing that in the context of this whole month of vulnerability. I just recently saw her interview and she said that. And it's so beautiful because it's so true. We only hurt ourselves when we hide our realness, when we don't want to risk and we don't want to be vulnerable. And that really helps us see others, right? Because that's the other part that I want to talk to you about today. Being vulnerable with ourselves can also be the permission someone else needs to be vulnerable as well. Marianne Williamson wrote a book called A Return to Love. Many of you may have read it. And in her book, she said, as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And as we are liberated from our own fear, our presence actually liberates others. So seeing others, when we take that, seeing ourselves, right? Now we're talking about seeing others. It doesn't mean seeing them as we think they should be or for what they may be in the future. And that's really important if we work with children, if we have children, or I happen to have 4 grandchildren. The youngest is 4, and the oldest is I think she just turned 16. So it's quite a range there. But instead of seeing them as we think they should be or what they could be, seeing others really requires eyes that are not seeing through the lens of judgment or comparison, but through that gentle gaze of awareness that just like us, each person is a unique expression of the one. We are all unique expressions of the one. And when we begin to practice seeing others in this way, the result is the creation of communities and spaces where we're all invited to show up authentically, messy and all. One of my first teachers, when I'm pretty sure it was my first foundations class, and it was taught by Dr. David Bruner, but the teaching assistant was a practitioner emeritus, and she was just a beautiful soul. And during one of the classes, she looked at the whole group of us and she said, in a very gruff manner, but filled with love, she said, "You are a magnificent mess, and God wouldn't change one thing about you." And I laughed so hard. I have always remembered that. I thought that should be a t-shirt. I should put that on a t-shirt. You're a magnificent mess and God wouldn't change one thing about you. But that's how we see through the eyes of God. We see the messiness and we love anyway. We create a vibration of acceptance. We honor, we respect, and that invites more space for vulnerability. You know, people are hungry for that. People are hungry to be seen, to be really seen. There is a performance artist. Her name is Marina Abramovic. And I read an article about her in 2010, and she's very controversial too, by the way. In 2010, she unveiled a piece, a performance piece called The Artist is Present. And it was a very simple setup. She would show up at the museum. This was at MoMA in New York City, the Museum of Modern Art in New York. And she would sit in a chair, and opposite of her was an empty chair that visitors were invited to occupy. That was her art installation, herself sitting in a chair with an empty chair across from her. And there was no talking aloud, and the guests would simply install themselves there in the empty chair facing Marina from just a few feet away, and they would meet her unblinking gaze until they decided they'd had enough. And then they'd leave, and the next visitor would then sit down, and they would have their own exchange. Well, again, nothing verbal. And she said she had no idea. She had no idea whether there'd be much public interest in any way. And what astounded her was that the crowds could hardly be contained. The museum was packed. The lines were long. Every day, all day, for 3 solid months. People showed up to simply sit across from this performance artist and be seen. She said it was a complete surprise. There were tears. People were so moved by the experience. And it just proved, she felt that her piece proved the enormous need of humans to actually have contact. We may not be performance artists, but we can find beautiful ways to create communities that nurture vulnerability, connection, and belonging. Your center, CSL Visalia, it was up on the slide this morning. You have this beautiful mission statement, right? CSL Visalia is the place everyone comes together, connecting in love and learning how to create abundant, joyful, and peaceful lives. That is stunning. We have a global heart vision, right? A world that works for everyone, a world where disenfranchisement, hunger, it's all a thing of the past, where forgiveness is the norm. And that kind of connection, that kind of world that we're all coming together to co-create in our centers, in our communities, in our neighborhoods, in our families, it's not achieved with words alone. It's achieved through intentional action. And it's not that we're always going to get it right. Vulnerability makes a space for us to try and to miss the mark. And then we have to reflect. We have to make amends when it's necessary to clean stuff up. But then we try again, because vulnerability invites us to listen, to not wait for the opportunity to fix or prove ourselves right, but to listen instead, to understand and connect. And when we can show up this way and create a space for our communities to do that too, we begin to see the power of vulnerability actualized. There's a story about a young couple. It's interesting being online because I'm always used to asking, raise your hand. I really can't see you, but you can see one another. So if you've heard the story, you can nod or raise your hand. There's a story about a young, well, not so young, it was just a couple who had new neighbors, and the new neighbors were a young couple. And the couple who had lived there for a while, they were sitting at their breakfast table one morning, and the new wife across the yard was hanging laundry. And the wife who was eating breakfast looked at her husband, and she saw her neighbor hanging dirty laundry on the clothesline, and said to her husband, someone needs to teach her a thing or two when it comes to washing her clothes. She was being rather judgy. And a couple of days later, she and her husband sat down again at their table for another meal. And the wife looked out the window and she saw the young neighbor hanging clothes again on the clothesline. But this time something was different. And she said to her husband, wow, look at that. Someone must have taught her how to wash her clothes. And without missing a beat, her husband raised his head and said, actually, honey, I got up early this morning and I washed the windows. I have never forgotten that story. I think it's such an analogy for this life, right? What we see, remember that whole thing I said about the mirror? But what we see when we're looking at others, when we're watching others, depends upon the window through which we are looking. And sometimes we need to wash the windows to change our perspective. You know, it's the same thing with glasses. It drives me crazy when my glasses are smudged. And I have a 2-year-old puppy and a 4-year-old granddaughter. Can you imagine how many times my glasses are smudged? So I walk around all the time trying to clean my glasses. So I just want to, you know, as we start to wrap up, I want to invite you to consider that whole concept of vulnerability and being seen and seeing others, because it's not a one-dimensional concept. It requires an internal awareness and an external practice. With any other concept or activity, it takes practice, right? How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, 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 and then more practice. We're called to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And it isn't easy sometimes, but we need to recognize the value of vulnerability to begin to create space in our lives and our communities for it to live in all of our communities. And it requires looking at ourselves and others from an expanded view, seeing the connection that's present and the value of creating space for that. So if you would this week, I just want to give you an invitation to allow yourself, first of all, to be seen, but then also consider how you might support others in their efforts to be seen. I love when no matter where I go, when the supermarket checker, I don't like self-checkout. I mean, if they're not going to pay me to pack my groceries, I'm not going to do it. So I like to thank the supermarket checker by name. I like to know the barista who's making my coffee and to know their name and to say hi. I like when the waiter comes. My husband and I go out to dinner and the waiter comes. We always ask, and what's your name? You know, if they're not wearing a name tag, because I just think it's warmer and friendlier. And that's how we create vulnerability with people. When we're taking a walk, when you walk your dog, look at people and say, hi, good morning. There are so many ways, small little things that we can do to create that connection to people and to allow that vulnerability. I have one more parable. It's very short, but it's about a Sufi master. And no birds were harmed in the making of this parable. But it was a Sufi master, and he had 20 disciples. And each of his disciples wanted to succeed him as a leader of their lineage. So one day, the Sufi master gave each of them a live bird in a small little cage. And he told them to go someplace where no one would see them. And there they were to kill the bird and then return when their work was complete. So sometime later, 19 of them came back with dead birds, but the 20th came back with the bird still alive in the cage. And the Sufi master said, why didn't you kill your bird? And the student said, I tried to do as you asked, but no matter where I went, I couldn't find a place where no one could see me. And that was the student who was chosen to lead the community, because that was the student who knew that God was always present and sees every one of us. We are never alone and we're never unseen. Thank you for inviting me today. Let us step into prayer. There is indeed only one power, one source, with many, many names, and also with no name, for it is nameless. But it is a presence and a power for good. whether it is called Jesus, Lord, Buddha, Gaia, the universe. I call it God. It's what I learned when I was very little. It is my safe place. And it is so easy. It is a power and a presence that is eternal and so very constant. It is a power for good, a power for love. In our youth wing, we teach our littles all of the things God is, I am. We teach them God is light and God is life and God is love and God is beauty. And through this beautiful philosophy and faith and way of life that we call the science of mind, I have learned that I am one with it. And just like we teach our littles, the littlest of the littles, all of the things God is, I am. And through this connection, this oneness with our source, I can also know that for each and every person that is within the sound of my voice today, you have incarnated as God in form to do what can only be done by you as God in form. Something spurred you today to get out of bed, to either turn on your computer, if you're part of our virtual community, or to be present in your sanctuary at Visalia. Something animated you and called you to be in connection with each other and with the one. And that is that power, that is that source that is letting you know that you are always seen. You are always filled with love, that you are valuable, that you are worthy, and that you are welcomed here. And that just makes me so happy. I sometimes get so giddy when I think about God. My favorite affirmation is that sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I want to say, I want to be surprised and delighted by God today. And I am never disappointed. And so I know that for you, that you are a delight. And that when you pay attention, you can always be surprised by God. And so for this connection, this time together, this celebration, this being seen and this seeing others, I am deeply grateful. And from that place of gratitude, I release my word into the action of the law, knowing that all is well, all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. And if there was anything I said today that resonated with you, I invite you to anchor our time and close our time together by saying, and so it is. Thank you, friends. Yes. Thank you, friends. Yes. Thank you.
Love is why I'm here. Let me be an open channel. If love is why I'm here, let me give and then receive. If love is why I'm here, let me be an open channel. If love is why I'm here, let me give and then receive. If love is why I'm here, let me be an open channel. If love is why I'm here, let me give and then receive. If love is why I'm here, let me be an open channel. If love is why I'm here, let me give and then receive. Give and receive. Give and receive. Give and receive. Give and receive. If love is why I'm here, let me be an open channel. If love is why I'm here, let me give and then receive. If love is why I'm here, let me be an open channel. If love is why I'm here, let me give and then receive. If love is why we're here, let us be an open channel. If love is why we're here, let us give and then receive. If love is why we're here, let me be an open channel. If love is why we're here, let us give and then receive. Give and receive. Give and receive. Oh, give and receive. Give and receive. If love is why I'm here, let me be an open channel. If love is why I'm here, let me give and then receive. Let me give and then receive. Let me give and then receive. Let me give and then receive.
Oh, thank you again. What a beautiful song. Thank you so much. So we are at that time in our service where we share our gifts and our tithes and our offerings. I know that the ushers are going to be making the collection in just a moment, but before they do, I want to take the opportunity to thank you in advance for your generosity, for investing in your community, for investing in this teaching, and for allowing us to continue to further the teachings of Ernest Holmes and all of the giants upon whose shoulders we stand. Thank you for your donation, your investment, and your generosity. And I believe we have a giving affirmation that I will invite you to say with me. I allow myself, nope, wait, I share my abundance. There we go. I share my abundance as I give thanks for all the good in my life. And now our ushers will make the collection. If you're part of our virtual community, you can go to the CSL Visalia website and you'll see a donate button. It's really easy. I already did it. It was very fast and easy. Thank you. I wasn't sure if we did the song first and then the benediction, or do I do the benediction now? So now we're going to have, I believe we're going to have our peace song. And I invite you to stand. If you're comfortable joining hands with one another, then please do so. And we will sing our peace song as we close out our day. If you're part of our virtual community, sing. Make like you're in the car with the windows rolled down and sing and enjoy. I think we're going to gather in a circle. There you go.
Now there is peace on earth. I know it begins with me. Now there is peace on earth. That was meant to be. With God as creator, united all. Now we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me, and there should no moment end. With every breath I take, this is the joyous vow to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Now there is peace on earth, and it has begun with me.
And if you'll join me for a moment of benediction, won't you know with me that you are never alone, that spirit source is where you are right now and always. And all you need to do is look within to know that you're guided, sustained, directed, and inspired and seen by a source that knows only good. I invite you to joyously make use of these gifts in all that you think, in all that you say, and in all that you do. And please take a moment and repeat after me. I'm at home in the heart of God. My life is anchored in truth. I can never be separate. I live in the consciousness of peace. I release all fear. I am living love. Happy Sunday, everyone. Blessings.